Good morning, everybody. This is Robin Ayub from the Localization Fireside Chat, and welcome to another episode of our YouTube and podcast channel, the Localization Fireside Chat. We're about a year and a half old company. We're aggressively growing. Our viewers are generally happy with what we're doing. I keep hearing lots of positive results about our conversations that we're having on this channel. And today I am honored to be joined by PhoneLive company, represented by David and Hugh Plappert. And David and Hugh are located in Minnesota in the US. And PhoneLive is such a unique company. I can't wait to get to know you guys and get to know the company a little bit. On this channel, we always talk about the latest and greatest in technology, but PhoneLive's got a different twist in the business model that you guys have created. And the audience can't wait to get to know a little bit about what you guys do and how you do it and who do you serve, etc. So before we get started into the core of our conversation today, which getting to know you and getting to know the company, how about we start with an introduction? David, why don't we start with you? Give us a little bit of an introduction, and then we go to Hugh. Thank you so much.
Hey, Robin, I really appreciate the chance to be here and to talk. I want to start off my introduction by saying I don't know what I'm doing, and I may be a little bit crazy. Starting with that, I've got a background in playing around with cloud computing services, starting about fourth grade, growing into about the sixth grade. I was one of the first users of a small company called Amazon Web Services, and that has since exploded. But that's my background. And then I also grew up in church, small, medium-sized churches, and always had kind of a hankering for helping with AV and business problems as much as a teenager can in their local church. And so always hacking, $25 gadgets into, do $1,000 jobs and having lots of fun there. But yeah, I still don't know what I'm doing.
That's the best way to get to know something is by admitting, one, what we don't know, and then try to find out what we don't know and learn from it. So appreciate the introduction, David. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Hugh?
Yes?
Can you give us a little bit of an introduction, if you don't mind?
Okay, yeah. My name is Hugh. I am David's father. I've got 41 years of experience in ministry technology at the local and national levels. David, I work in databases and back office work, where David's more in AV and cloud technologies. So we kind of complement each other. And at PhoneLive, I do the day-to-day operations and help market David's crazy inventions.
Excellent. Well, thank you again for joining us, Hugh, this morning with David. Before we dig into the technicalities of how PhoneLive work, why don't we introduce the audience what PhoneLive is? David, would you mind take us through this?
Yeah, so we'll get into the history and how it was developed maybe a little bit later, but PhoneLive is quite simply a patented technology, surprisingly, that connects your live stream and puts it on the traditional telephone. A couple of the big differentiators is each one of our clients has a dedicated toll-free phone number. And so what that means is there's no pins, passcodes, any of that stuff to remember. It allows for complete customization and branding of the call experience. And key to this phone call is it allows multilingual. And so you can have a French phone system, prompts and branding completely in French, Spanish, so on. And then we've got a number of different ways where you can attach media to that phone system. And it's primarily built for long format event style media, where you have a 90-minute, 60-minute, 24-hour event, and you want to broadcast that media, a one-to-many type scenario. That's what PhoneLive is built for.
Oh, excellent. Just for the sake of our audience here, because it's I know my audience right now, the ears are peaking up a little bit in terms of when you mentioned you could offer the service in a variety of languages. So they're asking, and I'm asking on their behalf, how?
Yeah, so we have what we call custom greetings. And what that allows you to do is to upload a MP3 file to replace every single piece of our phone system. And so by default, it's a female robotic voice. Hey, thank you for calling ABC. We're currently live. 1 second while we connect you, so on and so forth. And so each one of those sayings, each one of those prompts from greetings to at the end of the live stream to midstream, all that stuff can be replaced with your own MP3. And so that not only allows you to customize the language that's being talked about, but you can also use your branding and your lingo, if you will. And so
So just to have it help me understand, so Church A, for instance, they're broadcasting their ceremony, their service, and they're broadcasting, let's say, in English, and I'm an audience, and I would like to listen to it in Spanish. So am I listening to the service in Spanish at this point, or just the greeting?
So we are only a broadcast platform. So we do not do the translation piece. And so you would still have to have a Spanish interpreter, whether that's AI or whether that's an actual person, provide that translation. But how that looks in our church customers is they will acquire 3, 4, 5, 8, 12 phone systems or phone numbers from us. And so they would have, for their English audience, here's one phone number. For their Spanish audience, here's a second phone number. And I might be putting the cart in front of the horse, but another one of the big reasons for that is analytics. So a translation broadcast system that provides analytics, at least from our research, is a big deal. We can tell you who, what, where, when, how, with a phone number attached to every listener. But beyond that, we also have subscriber lists. And so taking this to the next step, you can have 500 Spanish-speaking people subscribe to your Spanish phone number live stream. And then anytime that live stream starts, so in a church scenario, every Sunday morning, those 500 Spanish-speaking people get a phone call automatically when that Spanish live stream starts. They answer the phone. The entire experience is in Spanish. All the Spanish analytics are tracked in a singular place. So yeah, to go back to answer your question, each language is kind of siloed into its own phone number.
And you hit on a point earlier, you're broadcasting only. The other services are being provided by the customer. In this case, would be the church, correct?
So we provide the entire phone system for you. And so you can input any audio into that phone system, so whether that's a live stream, if you've got like RTMP, HLS, any of these types of technologies, whether that's a output from a soundboard, whether that's another phone call. We have a SIP browser interface you can call in, kind of like we're doing here. So we have multiple different interfaces where we can accept audio in, but we are the phone system. We're the broadcast mechanism for you.
Absolutely. So going back to the story of the company, now that we've settled on how the language piece is being provided, you from your side, when you first heard, I'm assuming Dave came up with the idea, right, Dave? I see your name on the website here. When you first heard the idea, what was your first thoughts? Is this okay? Is this crazy? What did you think?
Well, we were actually starting a telephone company, and we wanted to create a telephone that became an active contributor to ministries. And we had about 100 features. And when David came up with this feature, we threw it to the bottom of the list until COVID came. It went to the top of the list, and we never got the other 99 features done.
So
right?
that means you approved, I'm assuming.
Right. So that's the story of the technology, right? We did not create this for translation. Our customers started using it for translation and introduced us to that need. So it was kind of neat. We didn't have to change the code or anything. And they started replacing their translation audio packs with PhoneLive because of the features.
So it's funny because most of the times, I talk to a lot of people on this channel, and most of the time I hear the same story is that we start with something, the market and the customer takes us somewhere else. You show them what your capabilities are, and together with your customers, with your market, start generating ideas on new features, new functionalities, or new business opportunities altogether. So now that your customer taking you to the area where you were not thinking about, like in terms of, I don't want to, the initial thought was not about providing the service in multilingual, the customer generated that to you. So it must have generated more business opportunities in this sense for you guys, right?
Oh, yeah.
So what was your thought when you first heard your customer saying, hey, I want this in multilingual? What was your thoughts on that one?
We thought David? It was an error.
Yeah. So just to clarify, so PhoneLive was originally built to help senior saints connect with their local church, right? So we're talking grandmas and grandpas, 55 plus, and most churches just buying, well, all the churches up to that point, just buying one phone system. And so I'm managing, setting up each phone system. Is in the early days. And I get an order that comes through for 4 phone systems. And so me being, the coding guy, I get the purchaser on the phone, and I'm just apologetic. Hey, I'm sorry, I've got a code issue somewhere. 4 orders came through. Obviously you didn't mean to purchase 4 phone systems, and I'm so sorry. I'll refund the money, and we'll get this all organized for you. And the gentleman on the other end of the line, no, I want 4. I want 4. And so I'm sitting here like, I'm thinking he's got 4 different churches. He's a service provider. Tell me more. And he's like, no, it's a single church. And he said, we just spent $10,000 a piece. This was about 90 days after COVID started. He was telling this story. He spent about $10,000 a piece on 4 different translation systems. So he had spent about $40,000. Just put in this brand new system. And he said, in his own words, he's ready to go start a dumpster fire in the back. And because they had tested with one of our other lines, so this actually ended up being a total of 5 lines, doing this translation piece, and it worked better. They didn't have to have devices. There's no apps. Same experience on site and off site. And he was writing the brochure for us, and I'm like, okay, if you want 4, we'll give you 4.
Well, this is amazing because, we always talk in this industry on the language side, the localization industry that we talk about always around connecting communities in their own languages, communicating with these communities in their own languages. And which is amazing when you think about it, how the amount of ways we can communicate with each other in a variety of demographics, reading materials, listening materials, visual materials. And now today we're introducing the audience to a phone system, sort of ways of communicating with individuals. And what a better way to listen to messages, specifically on the faith side of things and the church services thing, where we are listening to those messages in our preferred languages. Because a lot of times, and I keep saying this, a lot of times people say, well, we all understand English, but to what depth we understand English, right? So to what level we understand English? Are we really capturing or sensing the message as it's supposed to be in our own fundamental way of listening to things or comprehending things? And
I agree.
From your perspective, although the United States is known to be an English-speaking country, from what I'm hearing from you, you are seeing a need for more than one language out there, obviously, and there is the demographics to support it. Am I correct?
Yeah, so we've done a number of research, and my dad can provide the specifics and the links and stuff. But it's something on the realm of like 40 to 50%, and he'll give the exact statistic and link to it, of people in the United States are not comfortable viewing a live stream. And so this has a number of different reasonings to it. Some are technology challenged, some are scared of technology. But a big portion of that, I believe approximately a third of that, and again, my dad can correct me on the exact numbers, it's a language barrier. They're not comfortable with the interface. They're not comfortable with how it interacts. And so when you think of that, we're in the 10 to 20% range of the U.S. population that's scared to interact with, or not scared, but they're concerned to interact with live streaming in general. And that's how, especially in this day and age, a lot of content is consumed. I mean, even from your Netflix and Disney Plus to your church live stream to your government interaction to your news. And so that's where we kind of see a huge need and a huge area that we can.
Hugh, any comments on that from your side in terms of demographics?
Yeah, I think it's 10% of America. English is not their strong suit of language, and especially in their personal life, they don't speak it. And so for churches, where the huge opportunities are, is there's an international ministry in their backyard, number one. Number two, by going the extra mile, they're opening the door to welcome those folks into their communities. And the international community is siloed. They're in their own little circle, And so by providing a service like this, it just opens opportunities for them to minister and be a blessing to those unique groups in their ministry.
Thanks, Hugh, for the clarification. Now, let's talk a little bit in terms of your short 4 or 5 years in business. And can we give the audience a little bit of a perspective on what has been the growth for you? Like, what has been the business scaling up, if you will, since you started as small, obviously, like every business, like when you start small. So where are you now? How did you go through the journey and where are you now in terms of growth? And I don't know how you measure growth. Is it by the number of customers, number of phone lines, or I don't know, number of employees, a number of revenue? I don't know. I'll leave it up to you.
Yeah. So good question. And this is always a fun story of mine to tell. We started, it was spring break, March 2020. I'm actually based in Illinois. And I was visiting my parents in Minnesota, and the kids had gone to bed. And so I stayed up. It was about 10 o'clock, and I wrote the first version of PhoneLive, and stayed up till about 2 or 3 in the morning and went to bed. Before going to bed, I put a Google form together. I had like four questions, like organization name, your name, a cell phone number, and email address. Just quick little Google form. And I sent it to a couple of my friends. I figured, I might have 2 or 3 of my friends want to use this, and it'll just be not charge for it, but, have 2 or 3 people on it, and, no big deal. So I go to bed, get up about 8 o'clock. One of my friends had posted this link in the Church Tech and Sound Media Facebook group. And I had 4 churches that had signed up, and I didn't know any of them. Like any of them. These are just random, one church is from like Maine. And so I call these people and I'm like, hey, I literally built this last night in my parents' basement. Like we're not even talking 24 hours old yet. And they're like, yeah, I understand, but we need what you have. After I was trying to persuade them. Like I got on the phone to tell them I wasn't able to help them. And they after about 5 minutes said that they really wanted it. So, okay, give me a couple bucks a month, I guess, and we'll build something. So after 31 days from me writing that first line of code in March, so the middle of April, we had crossed $10,000 in monthly reoccurring revenue using only a Google form and my personal cell phone. We had no website, we had no Facebook, we had no branding, this wasn't some planned launch that we'd been sitting on for 6 months. This was, from ground zero, $10,000 a month in monthly recurring revenue in 31 days. And so after that point, I figured, well, I guess we have a business here. This is no longer a hobby. And so we've grown from there. So today, we've serviced about 1,100 churches, and we've done about 65-ish million minutes of broadcasting using our phone system. And on the average Sunday, we connect over 22,000 people to their local church using our system. And these 22,000 prior to our system, the majority of them were not able to connect to their local congregations.
So, Dave, great. Congratulations on such a success. And I'm assuming people not going to churches during COVID was the impetus of driving this need and people realizing, hey, we need a different way of communicating. Now, when you look at the fundamental technology that you've built and the cornerstone of your business, where is the opportunity here beside the current market that you're serving? Do you see other potential? Do you see other markets that you perhaps can serve, support, etc., than churches?
So our big goal here is to follow our customers. And so we started with the elderly space. For churches, we've been pushed into the translation broadcasting space. We've been pushed into the government space, helping schools and local government communicate with their population, with their citizens. And so our goal isn't to go and find customers, if you will, but our goal is just to simply support the customers that are coming to us.
I get that. So you're reacting to the market right now, but is there a plan to perhaps take it to another vertical, maybe like investors relations or something? Go ahead, you.
So we'll go where we're needed, but from a business perspective, the church market in North America is the hugest or biggest opportunity because of the faithfulness and the frequency. And you don't see faithfulness and frequency in the other markets. So we'll serve them, as they come along, but the return on investment is so much higher in the church market. So that's why we're so strong in that area.
So when you look at the market there, Hugh, and you mentioned, David, that there is 1,100 churches that you guys are currently dealing with. So what's the percentage of the market share that you currently have? And there is more potential out there for you.
So the total number of churches in the U.S. is approximately 300. So we're just starting to crack
Scratching
the
the
pie.
surface?
Um, and we understand that we're not going for a whole piece of the pie,
Mhm.
but there is a large segment where translation broadcasting is important to them, where the scalability that we offer is important to them, where the analytics and the data is important to them. And so in those instances, that's really where we shine.
Okay. Now, David, on the tech side, you've built this thing, you mentioned earlier AWS. I'm assuming you built it in AWS. I want to, so are you taking advantage or will you be taking advantage of the other features that AWS offers? Like, I'm assuming artificial intelligence at some point. Is that part of your evolution in terms of the technology, or or the technology is so simple that it's capped right now and you're not developing any further?
Yeah, we actually have quite a list of things that we're playing with. One of the items that we've experimented with on and off for about the past 2 years is doing translation via AI. And so you have an English service, and I'm sure you're very familiar with those types of services. What we tend to find is for our customers who are serious about translation broadcasting, that they aren't very interested in AI translation, because if they're willing to invest in the broadcasting of it, they're willing to invest in having the correct, exactly. And so because of where we're at least from that AI perspective, we're not looking to offer that type of service at this time, at least.
Mhm.
We're really big, or one of our big focuses is data, quality of data, analytics, telling you exactly who called, when they called, why they called, what they're listening to, that sort of thing. And so being able to connect and help our clients understand that data, get that data into the correct spots and areas for them and help them understand that data is important to us. And at this point, we haven't done a whole lot with AI in terms of data, but that's one area where I could see us, maybe doing some R&D.
Absolutely.
If I
No,
could
sorry, go ahead, Hugh. You have something to add?
follow it. So the data that David's talking about, a lot of churches have church management systems, and that data collected, you can go back into the church management system, so you can pull up a family record, and you can see that family is using Spanish translation or they're using French translation. And it kind of gives you an attendance report of what they've done online and stuff like that. So it's really cool in churches like, knowing that our system works. So one of the features about our system is if it doesn't work, you're going to know it. So if you want to quit using us, that's a feature because it's not working.
Yeah.
It's not a vanity metrics. These are actual, we're counting phone numbers and amount of time we spend, etc.
So I'm assuming for privacy, security, and all data-related concerns, I would say, from a public perspective, you checks all the boxes, right, David?
Yeah. So I've got a background in banking and transaction level security, healthcare level security, and those concepts are carried forward to what we do here. But even in those constraints, having a phone broadcast provides substantially more data and actionable data than a video style broadcast does.
Great. Now, the what's next for you guys? Like, what's next for PhoneLive now? More growth? That the whole scratching the tip of the iceberg kind of thing is just continue growing.
So there's
So
two
we're
answers to that.
Go ahead, Hugh.
We're working on a lot of word of mouth. The translation is new to us, and we're learning a lot about the translation market, and we're figuring out the marketing growing of it. 9% of our customers come to us from word of mouth, and so we have a lot to
Yep.
work about, a lot
Yep.
to learn about in the marketing side.
And I hope this podcast helped you a little bit.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
David,
Another
anything to add on
cool
that?
feature.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Hugh.
Another cool feature about it is churches that use our system increase their usage about 15% year over year. They're finding more people who are growing their church or growing these areas of their ministries, and so that's natural growth.
So because they're using your services, they're seeing a little bit of an upside on the attendance and the number of worshipers that they're coming to listen to their broadcast, correct?
Correct.
So you want to do marketing. Obviously, you want to, expose PhoneLive company to the rest of your market segment, those 300,000 churches in United States and abroad. And, you only been in business, not you only been in business for 4 years now, and in some circles that's a milestone. That's a long time nowadays. We live in a very speedy kind of way of developing businesses. I'm not sure if you guys are keeping track of some of those companies that they're coming up now in the startup mode, and all of a sudden they're becoming big, full-fledging organizations, a large organization in a very short time. But you guys have done the impossible in a very legacy way, if you will, if you don't mind me using the term legacy in the sense of broadcasting. You found yourself a niche, and that niche continued to grow, and you continue to develop, and your customer seems to like it.
So one of our big differentiators is, and it's my personality, is I'm a problem solver first, and then I use technology to solve problems. And so there's a lot of solutions out there. There's a lot of high tech out there. You get the talk of AI and cloud and Kubernetes and serverless. I mean, you can throw around a whole bunch of high tech terms. Goal in our foundation is on problem solving. How can we, where the rubber meets the road, actually help you and help your saints, help the people that you serve increase their connectivity to you, help you get your message to them. And irregardless of what the technology is, if the technology is 100 years old and we can help you solve that problem, let's do it. And I think that's, especially in the church market, is a kind of a shift in mindset, because you hear LED screens and you hear live streaming budgets in the hundreds of thousands. And then we come along and say, hey, for $200 a month, we can help you connect with 10 to 20, 30% of your local area in a whole lot better way. It's kind of a shift.
Yeah. Now, I know, like in the church I go to, for instance, we broadcast the service using Facebook. So they throw it on Facebook and they put a camera in there. One of the phones, actually, they put a phone. It's very, no large production here. It's just like somebody takes their iPhone, put it on a tripod, and face it to the ceremony where the church is having their ceremony, and that gets broadcasted on Facebook.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, like for those audience who are used to that, maybe. I don't know. Maybe you want to do your pitch to those audience using your broadcast as an alternative.
And we do have churches that do that. They don't even broadcast on video. They just use ours and do audio only, especially for their rural. They have internet challenges in their rural community. They do that. And then we have the high-end people, Resi users who interface with us. And Resi users are usually multi-location churches. And so we've done the whole gamut.
Okay. So for those users who are using Facebook, as a way to attend these services, they can use your broadcast as an alternative if they don't want to.
So I would say that we don't compete specifically with Facebook for live streaming, as most of our people that we service are on the go, or they aren't comfortable using Facebook. And so we would be an auxiliary service. So you stream on Facebook and you would have a PhoneLive option as well. And so there's segments like with Alzheimer's, right? Trying to get grandma to, go on Facebook or, do certain actions to connect to the live stream, where with PhoneLive, her phone rings. Yep. She answers the phone. Yep. There's no remembering when or what to do, what numbers to call, what buttons to push. You just answer the phone.
Okay. So now I know, like on the marketing side, which you and I talked about in the first conversation we've had, and we thought maybe this podcast will help you a little bit on the marketing side. But what's your marketing plan?
Currently, we are doing a heavy push on LinkedIn and trying to meet people, share our story with them, get the word of mouth out. And we're seeing some positive tractions with that. If I could just intersect real quick, we kind of hinted to this. So we started the system for senior adults and for the rural community that my son's church is in during COVID. From that, we've had churches that sign up because they are in inner city poverty areas and people can't afford the internet. And that's where this is the streaming that they do. They don't do Facebook or anything else. They just use it this way. We have prison ministries, because parolees, when they're out of prison for a period of time, they're not allowed on the internet. And so they use it for that. We have Boston University, and I think about 3 churches using it for the blind. And then we just had a church use it for hearing impaired. So it's like a translation audio pack, but it's the regular English, and they can control the volume and help them with the hearing impaired. So it's kind of funny how this thing just grows on its own. In all those categories, we never wrote one line of code for them. They just found it and found use for it.
Absolutely. Now, just to maybe put you on the spot with one more question on the translation side, because I'm sure the audience is probably itching for me to ask the question. Would you be interested in partnering with somebody in the language industry to do the interpretation, if you will, the professional interpretation, as you mentioned earlier, in those cases where the church doesn't have anybody from their constituency to do the interpretation? Because I'm assuming they prefer somebody of their own doing the interpretation, but in some cases they don't have volunteers to do this. Would you be interested in partnering with somebody, or you're just focusing on delivering right now and you're not interested?
Yeah, I mean, more than interested in partnerships. We have a number of robust partnerships with church organizations, live stream providers, service integrators, whatnot. And if anyone out there listening wants to be our preferred interpreter partner,
Well, you're talking to one right now, so
happy to have those conversations.
I'm your host
So
and potential partner. I don't know.
Let's do it.
So one of the key features about our system, and that first church that signed up pointed this out to us, is now they're able to have their interpreters on site or off site because they're live streaming it anyway on video, right? And so they can translate from either one. The cool thing about our system, it is a live phone call. There is no audio delay. And so they're hearing the live translation from either the in-person translating or the remote.
So one of the things that we talk about here in Canada quite a bit is accessibility laws, right? There's a lot of accessibility laws, and I'm assuming US the same thing, especially on the hearing impaired. In I don't know, maybe that's not a segment that you're focusing on right now, but have ever the question came up, like in terms of the hearing impaired? How do you do that?
Yeah, so we actually have some behind the scenes partners working on government specific accessibility issues and helping local governments best connect with their states. I mean, or their citizens, sorry, because that's really, really what it's about.
And what about ASL? Like, I know a video is not part of your services, but the American Sign Language, would that be part of the other guys, the church's offering perhaps as a service on the video side?
So I know of a number of churches who have an ASL specific broadcast, or they do like a video in video, like the lower right hand corner, and they do ASL. Generally, we're not involved too heavily in those types of conversations, but a lot more heavily on the broadcast and the translation side.
So I'm assuming on the broadcast you use like TTY and all these, like to increase the volume. If somebody has like a bit of a problem listening in, back in the old phone days, I come from the telecom industry, right? So we used to use TTY and all that stuff in the phone booth so people can increase the volume as they listen.
Yeah, so part of our patent actually is helping normalized events, specifically with music, helping that sound good on a telephone. So I'm sure, as you know, when you live stream, you get, 128 to 256 plus kilobits per second of audio specific stream. On the telephone, we're lucky if we get 18, right? It's like we're a whole magnitude different. And so part of our patent is our audio encoding. Part of that's audio volume normalization, along with a number of other high frequency, low frequency cuts, items like that help event-specific audio sound good on the phone versus, me just calling grandma, right? Helping a production sound good via phone.
Yeah. And, back in the days, you're making me remember all my telecom days. So there you go. Back in the days, we used to use the D channel on the phone line to, convey text, to transmit those short text messages. I'm assuming still the case now, but you're using the full spectrum of that phone line to transmit audio and text if you want.
Yeah, so everything we do is digitalized in the cloud. So there's no hardware or installation or anything that needs to be done at the local church from a phone perspective. No phone lines need to be run or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, some of those concepts we still play with in a digital realm.
All right. So as we continue the conversation here, we're just coming up to the end of our dialogue. So is there anything else that I have not really, in the interest of people getting to know you as a company and as an individual? You seem like a very good individual. I know I met you once, and that's the second time. You're a very good father and son business That's the most trusted business in the world nowadays. You don't see that a lot. And so I want to make sure I leave the window open or the door open here for anything that I have missed that you probably like to tell the rest of the world about the business, yourselves, etc., that I probably haven't covered yet. Is there anything like to add?
So I'm sure my dad will probably have something here, but just for a second, I want to say how thankful I am that you've heard us out, and just reiterate, I'm 100% human. I'm about 50% crazy, and I still don't know what I'm doing. So I just want to make sure you understand I am very thankful for this time.
Thank you, David. You?
We're about plain as vanilla as it can be. Just want to recap some of the benefits of using PhoneLive over the traditional audio packs. One is there's no maintenance. There's no replacing defective packs. Number two, it's scalable in 3 ways. If you have 10 people in an event or have 100 people in an event, you don't have to invest in extra equipment because everybody's bringing their cell phone. So it's scalable in that way. It's scalable that the same translation you're doing for the in-person people also works for the online people. You just tell them what number to call for what language, and it works for both. And then it's also scalable. You can have multiple languages. So we'll give you as many toll-free numbers as you need, and each toll-free number can be assigned to a different language. So you don't have to worry about frequency channels, et cetera, and so forth. There's no gap in the audio. It's a live phone call. There's no delay. There's no buffering taking place. There's no app to install. It works on the traditional phone as well as on a cell phone. And then the translator can be on-site or remote. And those are the reasons people throw away their audio packs and replace it with our system.
So I think you've missed one, if I can interject. The other one is data, right? So I can tell you who's using your translation system, how long they're using it, where they're using it from, what they're listening to on it, and if somebody has stopped listening to it or somebody new is listening to it. We have a lot of customers who use the new and the stopped listening flows. And so, pass them off to a marketing team or an onboarding team. Hey, thanks for joining us this week. Can we pray for you, or can we get you connected to a group, or can we help you? And it really gets them connected to your organization.
Absolutely. Hugh, you've captured it very well. And David, excellent summary of the services you offer. And you know what? You probably don't need to hire anybody for marketing. You guys are great at it. So there you go. But if as the company continue to grow, you probably need to create a marketing structure for yourselves. And, that's my personal recommendation. It's up to you, I guess, how you do this. But to put a focus and emphasis on the broadcasting your message to the world that you live in, and the world that you work in, it's got to be a little bit more systematic than doing, the LinkedIn posts, etc. You probably need, as you go along, you'll discover that you need a little bit more planning for this. And if you ever want to talk about it down the road, happy to contribute and happy to support you guys. You guys are a great company, great family. And I had the honor to speak with you today. And I hope you guys repeat it as you grow and become a more success. Hope you can remember the little guys down here. Come back and visit anytime. And this channel, consider it yours. I love supporting young companies. I love supporting good initiatives, good faith-based initiatives. I enjoy doing this. That's why I started this channel here. Support everything, obviously, from technology to various topics. But this is very important. And thank you for joining me today. I appreciate it.
The honor is all ours. Thank you.
And to our audience, as we wrap up episode number 91, I want to thank you so much for listening in. If you're coming in on our podcast channels, and if you are viewing us on YouTube, thank you so much as well for listening in or for viewing this particular YouTube video. And also for the audience, we do put several pieces of content for every episode. So we'll have the short videos. We grab sound bites from our videos and we'll put them on YouTube. We'll also have the long form of YouTube video. This entire episode will be also put on YouTube and put on the podcast. The second thing we do is we summarize the script of this particular episode, like we do for every episode, and we'll put it on our blog site. Feel free to check it on our blog site. We're also on Substack as well. If you want to subscribe to our Substack channel, this is recent addition to our channel. Put a summary of our conversation on our Substack channel. So we're everywhere. I appreciate you commenting, subscribing, and sharing this content with your network. It really helps the channel. We're not funded by anybody. This channel is only self-initiative on my own. I do the recording and I do the editing. And for those who've done video editing before, you know how much time it takes. And so I'm learning, but I'm Still takes a bit of time to do this. So it's all personal initiative on my side. And I want to thank everybody for listening in. Thanks to Hugh and David Plappert. I wish you the best of luck with PhoneLive.
1 second before we dismiss, Robin, for those listening from PhoneLive, can you give a 60, 90-second segment about you and how we can best support you?
Great. That'll be phenomenal.
Go ahead. Where can we find you? Where can we learn more about you?
I see. For me, you mean?
Yeah. So for people listening from PhoneLive,
I see what you mean. I thought you were addressing somebody else on your side. So sorry for the confusion. So people can find us on the Localization Fireside Chat. We're on YouTube. Just look us up, and on any podcast channel that you're familiar with, Spotify or Applecast or any of the other podcasting channels. Just look up Localization Fireside Chat. And if you're in doubt, just go Google my name, Robin Ayoub. That's the easy one to find. And you can see all the channels listed under my name as well. The blog site is called the robinayoub.blog. And on Substack, it's under Robin Ayoub, and X and the rest of the social media. Either Localization Fireside Chat, that's the easy one to find, and or my name, Robin Ayoub.
Good deal. And anybody from PhoneLive, I recommend you check out Robin and his stuff.
Absolutely. Thank you so much again for you both. And if you don't mind hanging on 1 minute after we terminate the recording, just 1 second, okay? Thanks, everybody. We'll see you at the next time.